Okay, so our first panel discussion would be, the topic would be safety and quality in dairy and associated dairy products. And for this, I would like to call on stage Mr. Krishna Kumar Joshi, Head Regulatory Affairs Department, ITC, Dr. Chander Datt, Principal Scientist, ICAR, Mr. Sanjay Pandey, General Manager, Banas Dairy, Dist Corporation. Can we have a huge round of applause for both of them? Mr. Sanjay Pandey, General Manager, Mr. Manas Mishra, DGM, Corporate Quality Assurance, Patanjali Food Limited. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Mr. Nagesh, NC Director and R&D at Herbalife. Mr. ABIR MUKHERJEE, CTO from Alpha Milk Food Private Limited. He is our moderator. Let's give them a huge round of applause, all of you. Now over to you, sir. Stage is all yours. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Sinex, for giving us the opportunity to be on the first panel and just to start the proceedings. Today is the World Milk Day. And to talk about milk and its importance, in 2001, United Nations started this to commemorate this day. Although in India we have Milk Day, National Milk Day, as per our Sri Kudian's birthday. Milk as such is one of the first food that a newborn has. And that gives a prominence to the importance of milk as a primary and foremost thing. As in the first presentation, we saw that how the scenario is changing. Definitely the scenario is moving very fast. And it is for us to be at level or maybe in some steps go ahead just to certify that we are not even just the largest producers, but we are actually the best. Definitely, still we have got a large distance to cover because quite a few things we don't have that type of climatic conditions or something that is quite essential for milk, but something we can do, something we can tune ourselves, fine-tune ourselves, so that our standards, our safety regulations, our level of the produce which we have, that is much compatible, that is to the world standards, and definitely we can achieve what we aim to. It's not just meeting the standards, just passing the exams or passing the regulations. It's about providing the best to your consumer. The milk movement has come up a long way, and I think every panel for the next 2 days will be discussing on some aspect of that, and not just going by the panel which we have with us. I would like first all of you to have an introduction about the panel which we have. I'll start with Mr. Nagesh.
Good morning, everyone. Myself, Nagesh. I'm basically from Bangalore and Herbalife. I represent Herbalife. I'm heading R&D, and I've been with the industry 22 years. And I'm basically a dairy technologist by education and by profession. I work with the various industry sector like dairy, nutrition, and health and wellness industries. Thank you.
So good morning. This side Manas is here. So in Patanjali we used to say Om. Om is a tradition for Ira to say good morning from our side. So I'm a postgraduate in Masters in Industrial Chemistry, and I'm with Patanjali as a Deputy General Manager. Previously associated with this different organization, qualities eras, and apart from this, I'm global trainers for these multiple segments of dairies, food, and staple segments. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Sanjay Pandey, and presently I am General Manager for the quality vertical of Banas Dairy. Banas Dairy is one of the major unions. 1/3 of AMUL volume is attributed to Banas, and I look after dairy and beyond dairy categories for the Banas Dairy. So, and my experience spans from working into diverse food categories, multinationals, cooperatives, and then freelancer, consultant as well. So that is how I have progressed, and I am basically a dairy technologist. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator, to give me a chance to speak on that and to the next as well. My name is Krishna Joshi. I had a multi-sectorial experience in quality, safety, quality management systems, regulatory, production management, operations. I had worked with Nestle, Wrigley's, Rodeo Chemicals, Parley, and currently I'm working with ITC as a head regulatory affairs, policy advocacy, and the compliance.
सभी को मेरा नमस्कार. My name is Dr. Chander Datt. I am Principal Scientist in ICAR, National Dairy Research Institute, which has been top-ranking university in the whole agriculture system in India for last 4 years. And now we are working on different contaminants, different feed technology in ICAR and DRI Karnal. So thank you very much.
And myself, ABIR MUKHERJEE. I'm a dairy technologist from India. I passed out in 92, so 31 years I'm in the industry from various sectors, from your procurement, production, fabrication, or marketing. I've been through all the thing and collected a bit of knowledge on that. Try to share that along with my panel. And I hope we always interact with you. Whatever questions you have on the topics which we are going to present, we can take it after we were through. So begin with the safety issues. Let's start with Mr. Manas regarding the challenges on the safety and the quality issue measures that are to be taken for having a better milk product produced throughout the chain. Over to you, Mr. Manas.
So thank you, sir, for the session. So if we discuss about these challenges and the safety quality perspectives of going on in dairy and the dairy products, so basically, if we go on a back trends of the analysis, the breedings and the animal part, the veterinary part is the majority problematic area in today's scenarios. Breedings, lactalics problems, then health issues of these animals which are unable to feed these lactalic and milk part to supply feed, because somehow we are going through the trends in production of the milk, but losing the same value ratio in the loss of the animals' perspectives. Secondary, if we go on a more depth on this, the cattle feed also have a sensitive problems. Like sir is already discussed, the aflatoxin is going on major issues. The cattle feed is somehow going to be not to be controlled in toxin segments, mycotoxins is there. Other contaminants are less in the market for the animal feeds, but toxins and the rest contaminants going heavily in the food products, which is something very legislative issue for the milk and milk industries, because they have the only single source from the animals, and animals are going to consume that product. So basically these two are major part, and the plastic and MSPs, minimum support price, with their farmers are not working with these MSPs, and farmers are the ground source, like the customers for the milk industry. They are not actually supplied to the customers for the milk industry. So farmers are not getting such source for the supplements on the government support for this MSPs also. So these challenges, and plastic is not at current scenario, but yes, in coming time it's going to be a major prospective challenge in the milk and dairy industry also. Because as we are moving to a modern era, we are just plastic, these sachets are like major source for the supply of the milk product currently in India. So if the guidelines are moving, global regulations are changing, so plastic is also going to be the major challenges for in upcoming era of this milk and dairy products industries. If we talk on the safety perspectives, then definitely I would suggest here to, and we discussed with the earlier panelists also, that we need to work on this animal husbandry process, veterinary process, the trainings to the farmer and support to the farmers. Like some of cooperatives are doing good, but like who are the small cooperatives which are not directly involved in these farmer segments, their training programs, their sanitation practices, that needs to be amended. Or like small dairies which are located in small areas, that need to be controlled, to be monitored, to be helped and support on this farmer's activity, so that this animal will be improved, then definitely we're going to get a good product. And in part of this cattle feed, this toxin parts, the source to be controlled from the ground fields. Like the cattle feed coming from the corn. So corn is the higher source for this toxin contaminations. If you are using some more contamination, blending ratios, that is also this part for this toxins carry. So these all needs to be controlled and visualized on a farmer hands also. So if we look on these two problems, which is basically for the animals and the toxins, then we definitely needs to approach the customer, which is farmer. So that needs to be approached, that needs to be trained, that needs to be developed for the education perspectives for the more betterment of the milk production and the milk control process. Apart from that, if we go for this plastic products, so definitely we, we all are here for the milk and dairy segments peoples. So we need to be work out on this plastic product control area, because not right now, but after a period of a decade, after a period of a time, somehow the plastic to be get banned in India also. In globally, it is taking a decade changes of the product, but in India it's not there. So we also need to work to make some replacement or auto dispensing or the some automation source for this disbursement of this milk distribution process, which is also not currently enforced in India. And we are lacking in that sense of knowledge and accomplishment in terms of implementation of the sense of distribution practices. The last I would like to add on here that we could be also add on to awareness toward the dairy industries, to expertise, to go for the automation in industries also. Like in globally, people are using fully automation. Once the tankers come, is go for the automatic process conversion. There is no manual interruption to all the process. In India, still we are having the practices to go for the multiple manual interruption, which is also the higher risk for the food losses. So that all needs to be controlled and that also be monitored on that part. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manas. So, what I gathered from you is the challenge which we are facing in 2-3 points. First is your exact nutrition for your cattle feed and the exact backup to the small farmers. So, what is the, I would say the linkage, the possible linkage to reduce these challenges in terms of livestock?
If we go for the livestock control of that, if we go for the control of the livestock, then basically the farmers to be taken care of that, their knowledge, their competency to be increased. Secondly, the sourcing and the method of their veterinary practice are too less in animal husbandry process. That needs to be monitored, controlled, developed, and it can be happen only by the support of the small cooperatives or the local dairies or local veterinarians, or to be done some schools and drives for the farmers, because farmers are not up to educator level. So we need to educate them, we need to develop them, and we need to let them know that what are the scenarios that could become to the final product if they are not maintaining the same. So that is the only source that we could control that livestock is.
One more. Hello.
Yeah.
One more thing I would like to ask you that for a small farmer, the yield is quite important. First, we have to give him a proper source of income. If he keeps on producing just 2 or 3 liters and doesn't get the revenue for that, he's not going to listen to what we are going to teach him. So any suggestions regarding that for your feed or some breeding techniques or something?
Breeding techniques could be get improved basically like 2 ways there. Where could be developed the breeding techniques. First one is the basically the hybrid breeds and animals are the part of the risk zone. So that should not be cross hybrids on the lactalic parts or their health issues, that should be controlled. Second, if we go on the more depth on the segment of this insistence, then local primary cooperatives or the local segments, local dairy processors or the people who have the major enforcement area should emphasize them on the knowledge process. Because this part could not be covered so easily and there should be some rapid drives for that, so that this retention rate could be low. Because if we look on the major component of the losses, the animal part is the major component where the milk producers are getting a major losses for that.
Thank you, Mr. Manas, and we'll put this question again for the discussion in the after we have finished with the other topics and come to one of my panelists, Mr. Dr. Datt, for that. But before that, let's proceed to the next topic on dairy hygiene and toxicology. And I would request Mr. Nagesh to take up, because dairy hygiene is quite important, because unless and until you produce a good milk that is hygienic, so we can't expect it to have a better product, a good product. So over to you, Mr. Nagesh.
Thanks, Mukherjee. I think, yeah, so hygiene is the most important, and let me start with the defining hygiene. Hygiene is a condition and practice that helps to maintain health and prevent diseases. How hygiene is relevance and significance to dairy industry. As everybody knows, milk is perishable, good food for microbe, and microbial load will determine the keeping quality. And also knows by India is milk is consumed by mass, and also milk is used to make different product and value-added ingredient. So hygiene will play a major role setting the right standard of finished product, and also to ensure the compliance to the standards. So it is again. It's more on the relevance and how important the hygiene is for the dairy industry. So it is important to safeguard the integrity and transparency throughout the supply chain. And also it is important to ensure quality and credibility of dairy farms and industries. And also to have a best industry practices, and also to provide highest level of food safety to the consumer. And it is important us to build a consumer trust and on the dairy product. So when it comes to how can we do better on good hygienic practice? I think we know all the hygienic practice is already following in all the dairy industry, but it's still long way to take the hygienic. It is important us to take hygienic practice to the next level. So in that, education and training is again it's going to be critical at farm level, and how we can bring the incentive schemes to the farmers to promote good hygienic practices. And when it comes to the dairy processing, how we can link the quality metrics or the index to the bonus, so that helps to have a more accountability and aware of responsibility to the employees who is involved in processing of dairy milk and dairy product. And I think many are aware about the recent upcoming topic on smart dairy farming. So smart dairy farming is basically talks about how we can use the latest technology like IoT, digitalization which helps a lot on collecting, analyzing the data, and also the real-time sensors, which helps to monitor the health of the animals. So these are some of the few a few controls which helps to take hygiene into the next level.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Nagesh. But one thing about when we are talking about the hygiene and the generally what we gather is the contaminants come up as a form of residues from your feed or type of milking, and that hindered the total dairy supply chain. So can you put a light on that? What are strategies we can have?
Yeah, I think contaminants is one of the most critical and which determine the highest safety level. So the main key contaminants like heavy metal, pesticides, antibiotic residues, mycotoxin and pathogenic. So the major source remains environment, poor veterinary services and the animal feed quality and water. So what are the causes, how these contaminants have a public health concerns? Mainly these contaminants is longer exposure to the consumption of this residue which will have an hypersensitive reaction, carcinogenicity, and also it disturbs our gut microbiota. So that it is important how we control residues. What are the preventive and control measures? One of the main things remains on the food hygiene and management practices that helps to avoid the spread of diseases and also to reduce the need of antibiotics. And also it is important how we can explore alternative to antibiotics. So there are some alternative to antibiotics like probiotics, immunomodulator, organic acid and feed supplement. So another one of the important things which I need to bring, it is important to have a national chemical residue control and program, so that will help to set the standard and also to reduce the use of chemicals. And another one, it is important how regulatory control and adherence on the feed and water. So feed and water is become one of the critical for all these contaminants. And also I think, yes, we drink safe drinking water by using purifier filters, but what happens into the dairy farm? So there is no such water quality monitoring system at dairy farm. So how can we think of to come out with affordable water purifier which can be adapted into the dairy farmers and it can be affordable by the farmers? So this water purifier which also to be think of how to remove any lead content or pesticides. So there are already established water purifier which can remove the lead pesticides. So I think that will help to further to reduce the residual contaminants in the milk.
Thank you, Mr. Nagesh, for the insight. But now the thing, what comes to the mind first thing is the shelf life of the milk. How long a milk and a milk product we can use. We all know that milk is an excellent aggregate amalgam of all the microorganisms. Some are good, some are bad. We consume curd, yogurt, that is a microbial action. And that microbial action itself is a hindrance if we are going for other products. So to understand or to talk about much about the role and their effects, some organisms develop toxins, mycotoxins, aflatoxins, and to understand the toxins and the dairy microorganisms, their growth and their physiology, we have in our panel two persons. Dr. Chander is there, Mr. Pandey is there, who have worked on different stages. And for that, I will come to Mr. Chander for the first on the research aspects and what are the basics of all this. Over to you, sir.
First, let me talk or start from the feeding of animals. For proper utility of the animals, that is in terms of higher production or improvement in the production, we need to feed balanced ration to the animals. That is, depending on their stage of lactation, if we are talking about the lactating animals, so how much is the fat, how much is the production, then accordingly we have to feed. Balanced ration means we should provide the nutrients in proper amounts, including your carbohydrates, protein, lipids, mineral, vitamins, and also quality of water should be maintained. For this, we need to give the ration, which should be free of contaminants also, and the major contaminants, they have been enumerated earlier also. So what we are working on now is effect of some amelioratant in the ration on aflatoxin reduction in the feeds and ultimately in the milk. So we are having study regarding aflatoxin in the feed, then how can we reduce and the effect on animal body, and then in milk and milk products, and that ultimately goes to human food chain. So this is one aspect, and all we know that aflatoxin, they affect badly the animal health, immunity, reproduction, so many abortion and feed intake, etc. They are reduced. So that animal production is compromised. Then they are also secreted in the milk in form of aflatoxin M1, which is very carcinogenic, mutagenic, teratogenic, and so many ill effects are there. So this is one aspect. Then there are pesticides present in the feeds, pesticide residues, which could be organochlorine pesticides, organophosphate, and carbamates. And they have been found in different feeds at different levels, which ultimately come in the milk. And again, they also affect badly the reproductive system, even immune system, and they also cause brain damage. So we have to check at different points, that is at agriculture, crop level, then processing level, handling level, transportation level, and storage level. Likewise, some heavy metals like cadmium, arsenic, mercury, lead, they also contaminate different feeds. And the sources could be, again, this industrial sewage waste or batteries, then vehicular air pollution. So we have to check the feeds at different levels so that their effect in the, their levels in the milk are minimized. And one more thing is that mycotoxin, Pandey sir will talk about. Then I can talk about different technologies. So at NDRI, for proper feeding of animals, we have generated different technologies like feed block making, like we have prepared anionic mixture, which is given to the animals 21 days before calving. So that various these ill effects like metritis, mastitis, then milk fever, they are reduced to a greater extent. Likewise, we have prepared NDRI mineral mixture, which is very good if we supplement at levels of 75 to 100 grams to the animals per day, which causes increase in the feed intake, milk yield, and reproductive problems are also lowered, while improving the milk quality also. So one of the technologies is also cationic mixture, which is given during the summer season, because the animals suffer from heat stress. So during that period, we can give cationic mineral mixture, which also increases milk production and fat content also to certain level. Then one more technology is pedistra is becoming a big problem, burning of the pedistra. So we are preparing silage from the pedistra so that its quality can be improved, and which ultimately can lead to higher milk production in the bovines particularly. And also calf diarrhea is also a problem in the dairy animals. So we have prepared prebiotics, probiotics for that, so that deaths due to calf diarrhea, they are reduced. Then there are different technologies not related to feed, like determination of the contaminant level, like detergent, presence of urea, then your different antibiotics. These technologies have been developed at NDRI also. So this is, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chander. And in continuation with that, I would request Mr. Pandey to throw light on the growing topic of mycotoxins. Because toxins and all the produces by the organisms, they are evident when everything has happened. Everything is over, now you just keep on doing the postmortem. So how can we prevent that? For that, I would hold to Mr. Pandey.
Thank you, Mr. ABIR. And let me a little bit go back and start with build the context more with the contaminants as such rather than just mycotoxins. When we talk of contaminants, we generally understand, and this is what we are taught also, that something which is not intentional. Like if you go to farmer and your milk is having aflatoxin, you know, what have I done? I have done nothing. So this subject of intentional or not intentional, there is a very thin line. Anything which happens as accident is one thing. Then we didn't do that knowingly or purposely, that is intentional. But say for example, you have failed once, it could be accident. But you are failing repeatedly all the time. This is not an accident. Your intentions come into play. If something is happening repeatedly, it means we are not that much serious. We are not handling it right way. And contaminants are not confined only to the mycotoxin. Mycotoxin is just one part which is produced by molds. There are several toxins. Our food is getting poisoned because of the several kinds of toxins all pathogens and bacterial organisms are producing. So toxins itself, like metallic contamination we talk about, that is also becoming toxic in your body in some way. So that is one part. Then other contaminants, for example, all antibiotics. Then comes pesticides. But let me touch the topic of mycotoxin first. They are the toxins produced by molds. Certain molds are responsible for that. And there is no safe level. The reason European countries are probably having the highest level of toxins, 0.05 ppb in milk, M1, aflatoxin M1 level. When you go to USA, come to countries like India, these standards gets diluted 10 times and you come to 0.5 ppb. The reason being that all these levels are toxic and there is no safe level. The reason is availability of the milk. If you have nothing available and it is not intentional also, so how to cope with that? So coming to that part, the solutions are not much with the processing industry. Those dairies are not able to manage if they are not managing the practices well. Practices means going back to the farming, animal husbandry, going back to the feed, going back to the fodder, because solutions are there. Toxins are not going to get destroyed just because you have done a very high heat treatment. High heat treatments means if you are taking the product to more than 200 degrees Celsius to 300 degrees Celsius, that also in minutes. And you are irradiating your food material. Food is going to lose much of the property, whether it is sensory, whether it is chemical, whether it is nutrition, all parts are getting destroyed. So you are not going to handle it in the factories. To some extent, you can handle it in the cattle feed factories because you are making the feed for the animal there. You can handle it by the practices where farmers and all how they are storing. There also comes the question of how much toxin is available in what kind of feed. Fodder by volume is almost more than twice the volume of the feed or concentrate feed which we are providing. But the culprits or the substances which are fostering the life of the molds and hence the generation of the toxic material, they are more with the feed. So controllable aspect is more with the feed than the fodder. Here, all green pasture, they hardly have any toxic material. animals which are on the green pasture, hardly there is anything. Same for example, milk, fat part is hardly able to retain more than 5% of the toxic material. Most of the toxins are there in the protein and the serum part of the milk. So whatever you want to do, you must do on the feed part, that is one. And in feed part also, but let us not get confused. Fodder is almost twice the volume. So it is just like I spent a good time in alcoholic beverage industry also. So people think that a glass of beer, portion gets bigger. So even if it is 4 or 8% alcohol there, ultimately effects comes because you are consuming that much of the alcohol. Similarly here also, maybe the toxic material is more into the feed, but because of the volume you are feeding and that fodder is not managed properly, you are not following best practices, you are not taking care of the moisture, you are not taking care of the place where you are keeping, then again, ultimately you end up feeding that much of toxin into the feed of the animal, and this will come into the milk. And this conversion from B1, aflatoxin B1 to M1 is almost 3 to 6% at the max. That's why you see that in cattle feed, when your standard is for 20 ppb, in milk it comes down to 0.5 ppb, which is roughly 2.5%. So this whole metabolism which is happening in the rumen of the animal, it is just only 5% or lesser than that. Very quickly, if time allows or not. Sorry. So very quickly I say, what can you do? The best thing is your buying policy of the feed. The difference is only 50 ppb. You are giving, government has now regularized that the ingredients for the feed should not be more than 50 ppb. All wheat, grains, etc., which you are buying. Animal food, human food is 30 ppb. All cereals and all, that is the standard. So if you see the difference, this difference is not too big. So first thing that your animal feed ingredients should be almost as good as the human food ingredients. Then only you will be able to manage that. Otherwise, there are several ways you can go into nano clays. The bentonite is there, zeolite is there, ammonium silicates are there. There are several kinds of herbs also. You have haldi, neem, onions. All these will help to control. You can go to the chemicals also, like acidic or base gases can be used to treat. You can use biosulfides, you can do ammonia treatments. All these factors will control. Even you increase the nutrition part, which is vitamin supplements or methionine or selenium and all these kind of products, they will also help to some extent because they are kind of, so when you are choosing all these kind of things like bentonite and clay materials, you have to think that what is the risk that they are absorbing the nutrient part also. Your feed nutrients, vitamins, minerals, so that is the efficacy of that absorbent, you can say bentonite and all these kind of stuff, binders. So these are some of the techniques. Besides the heat treatment, irradiation is definitely not going to help. So I go by the recommendation of the FSI that try to control the ingredients of the feed first. That is basic, because all these treatments are just like painkillers. You will feed in 3-4 days time. Improvement will come. In 4-5 days, withdrawal will also happen. But again, it will come. So go back to the basics. Thank you.
Sir, I would just quickly go to Mr. Joshi to take up the topics of latest technologies that are being implemented and the safety standards that are to be achieved.
So, I'll not dwell on what has been already said, and that is exactly, these are the latest technologies or the latest practices being are followed internationally, okay? But however, there are few points of clarification which I will do that. But whatever is being said by other panelists, these are the only solutions and best technologies available across the world. I don't want to repeat that. But I would like to tell you the historical perspective of our animals. I remember my father used to, take care of animals like a child. Now these animals are becoming the production machines. We don't take care of those ones. And I'm sorry to say that despite of having world's highest milk production, we are in the sorry state of the mind when it comes to the animal health. We can talk in this forum very big things. We can talk about technology, this, that, and so many things. But we are in a very sorry state of mind. At the field, we are not that proactive and so active as much as it is required to get a good quality of milk, whatever, the technology you want to take forward. People or our leaders talk about one word, one health. Is animal missing in that? Have you read about the entire, gamut of information provided on one word, one health? Have you seen animal in that? So we are very, very in sorry state of the mind. We don't include those particular perspectives which are required to be improve our socio-economic status, including your businesses or economy, etc., etc. Few things I will touch base. The most important part is the cultural shift. If we don't make cultural shift, we will remain in this position only. We talk about alpha level equipment. You guys might be using alpha level equipment in your machinery. But we are only focused on the production. We never gone back to the pre-production stage. In agriculture, it is called pre-harvesting. We never targeted that. Now, slowly it is booming up. But we have to put a lot of efforts before the production. And that includes the sir said, animal health. It includes your animal nutrition, includes your forages and foliages, and there are certain critical aspects also. The land use is going to change your biodiversity. Where you will get food, where you will get feed. If because of the change in the land use, your biodiversity is getting disturbed, you do not have a proper microorganism to digest or to decompose your post-harvest or the wastages or whatever it is. There will be certain things, especially I was reading somewhere, one 500 kg weigh animal requires 12 kg of the feed. Do we have those kind of synchronization? Do we have that kind of knowledge with us that how much I need to feed an animal? There is another aspect of, if you look at the feed or the feeding of the animal, it is equivalent to 55 to 60% of your total cost of the milk production. 55 to 60%. How to make it sure that it gets reduced? Do we have some natural alternative method to accommodate those kind of high cost of the milk production so that farmer gets a proper income? There are new technologies available like reproductive biotechnology, where you can look into your feed also, look into your breed also. Different kind of breeds you can produce through reproductive biotechnology. You can use biotechnology in using your feed. You can use biotechnology in reducing the wastages also. So those are the few things, few more internationally recognized new understanding as the somatic cell count. I don't know, sir, if experts also look into somatic cell count of the milk or not. Because when they are milked, they are in very less number. The moment gets your storage condition or, etc. gets, in a different directions, they multiply very rapidly. So do we have that kind of understanding? You have certain things about cooling of the milk at the source. We do not have those practices in our homes because we think, or our farmers, because we think ये तो बाद में उबल जाना है ना, ठीक है, हम तो उबाल देंगे इसको, so सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा उसमें. So that kind of mindset is there. So I think the biggest important part is making a cultural shift, making animals as our daily part of life, like a child. Only then these things will be addressed, otherwise technology will not help. So हमको अपने आप को बदलना पड़ेगा, farmer को अपने आप को बदलना पड़ेगा. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Joshi. And just a quick thing that what we can learn from the international practices and about the standards is first we have to uplift ourselves. Okay, in the US the standards are different. Why? Because they have put stringent restrictions on the food practices. Why we are to do? We are to go back to the farms. It's not the, about the safety issues. Only in case of any breakdown or catastrophe, then something bad is going to happen. Otherwise, nobody in the industrial format is going to give you a wrong product. But to develop it, we have to make our basics right. We have to go back to the farms. We have to have a good produce so that we can have a better product and keep on upgrading our standards right from the word go. We have to block the whole chain. I think we have got topics on that regarding traceability and regarding blockchain. We have to adopt them to the core. It's just not getting the standards, the health standards, the environmental standards. We have to just fulfill them to the core. I think my panel has taken extra time from the organizers, but I think you will adjust with that. So with that, I finish it off. We sign it off. Any questions? We don't have time as far as the panel is, time is there, so we can have it one-to-one interaction with all of you, whatever, whenever. I think we can have a, so we can have it later on. We can have it later on outside from any of the panel members. I think the Silex is running out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you for giving a patient listening. Ma'am, the question is definitely relevant, and for them, for example, I will tell you what Mr. Pandey was telling, that one cooperative has gone to the roots. So every industry has to go. We have to educate the farmers. It's not the training papers, just we give the banners or not. We have to educate them that how this thing is developing, how the thing is growing, and how we are to have a better product right from the word go. We have to make them understand. We have to make them understand that your child is going to eat this directly or indirectly one day. Then we can make it.
I think, ma'am, I understood your question, and your question is not too particular to me or him, or I think it's an society, it's an organization, or it's an dairy sector level. Yes, there are things being done. You can refer to eChopal ITC. Okay, they are doing a lot of dairy husbandry related work, and we don't have much business, even though we are doing it, because we have a connect to the farmers, because farmers grow wheat. We are connected with them, so we train them on that. The farmers growing spices, we connected with them, and we are providing training on certain dairy farming practices as well. So there are few organizations who are doing that, but your question is, very right. It has to be across the, sector, not by one or two.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. And there are, I think, Skill India program is there. Government is also doing. Somebody has to take it forward. Yeah.
Close for you, ma'am. applause from you from our side. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much to all the panel members. Can we have a huge round of applause for all of them? Okay, so with this, for the felicitation for all of you, sir, I would like to call Dr. Sudhir Mandal, National Health Testing Services from IR class. Can we have a huge round of applause for sir? Mr. Krishna Kumar Joshi. Sir, can we play the music? Dr. Chander Datt. Dr. Chander Datt. Can we have a huge round of applause up here? Mr. Sanjay Pandey. Let's give them a huge round of applause. Mr. Manas Mishra. Mr. Nagesh NC. Last but not the least, Mr. ABIR MUKHERJEE, our moderator. Can we have a huge round of applause? Everyone. Six.